Hello dear students, so as we were discussing about the human digestive system, so we are going to discuss today about the liver. So the function of the liver that we are going to discuss here. If I would just want to tell you about the liver. Liver, it is also the largest gland of our body. Basically it secretes the bile juice that gets stored. If you have made the figure of the digestive system, so you would have seen here that first here comes the buccal cavity. Let me make it somehow here. So first the food reaches into buccal cavity, then from the esophagus the food reaches into just into the stomach. This is the stomach, and from the stomach the food just goes into the, this is the small intestine. Here you would see your small intestine. Okay, so from the small intestine is reaches into, this is the large intestine then. Okay, this is the large intestine, and ultimately the large intestine opens into the rectum. This is the area of the rectum. Here you can see the rectum. Okay, so here the large intestine open into the rectum. Okay, then from the anus the undigested food come out from the anus. Okay, this is the simple figure I have made here. Okay, so now you would have seen a structure, the big structure here, that is also called the liver. This is the liver. You would have seen this liver here. Okay, so this liver is the largest gland of our body, human body. Okay, what does it do? It secretes the bile juice. Okay, and when it secretes the bile juice, the bile juice gets stored in the gallbladder. Here downside to our, just downside to the liver, you can see here a simple gallbladder here. Okay, the figure which you have made there, you must have made this gallbladder also. This is the gallbladder. So while the liver is secreting the bile juice, the bile juice gets stored in the gallbladder. Okay, so what is the function of the bile juice? When the bile juice gets stored in the gallbladder and the food from the stomach reaches into the small intestine, then the from the gallbladder the bile juice just reaches into the small intestine, and it digests the food there. Okay, the undigested food means the food that has not been digested in the stomach. When it reaches into the small intestine, it will again be digested by the bile juice, which we are getting from the gallbladder. Okay, are you getting this? Yeah, so this is the function of the gallbladder, sorry, the liver. And then later on you would have seen a structure, small creamy colored like structure here, just down to the stomach. This creamy colored structure would be called as the pancreas. Okay, so while when the food from the stomach reaches into the small intestine, that is the front part of the small intestine, that is also known as the duodenum. So here the bile juice and the pancreatic juices are mixing with the food there. Okay, so bile juice just digests the fat there, which is there in the food. It just digests the fat, and the pancreas secrete also juice that is also called the pancreatic juice. This pancreatic juice also reaches here in the small intestine, the front part of the small intestine. So both these juices are helping in the digestion process. Like the pancreatic juice just convert the fat or the protein, or you can say the carbohydrate into the simpler form. Okay, yes, in the duodenum part of the small intestine. So this is the function of the pancreas and the you can say the liver. Okay, let's talk about the liver here. Let me write about the liver here. So I'm writing, it is the largest gland of our body. Okay, it secretes the bile juice. It secretes the bile juice, and later on this bile juice gets stored in the gallbladder, which is stored which is stored in the gallbladder. Okay, and when the food from the stomach reaches into the small intestine, then from the gallbladder bile juice come out and that digest the food there. Okay, that is the function of the, and bile juice helps in the digestion of fat. And I'm writing here, and bile juice helps in the digestion of fat. Okay, so this is the function of the liver. And now the next very important function that we are going to discuss, and that is the pancreas. Okay, so basically the pancreas, the creamy colored structure down to the stomach, is called the pancreas. Okay, so these pancreas are just secreting the pancreatic juice, which again helps in the digestion process. Okay, below stomach, a creamy colored structure. It is a creamy colored structure, colored structure below the stomach, okay, so it secretes the pancreatic juice. There I am writing, it secretes the pancreatic juice, which helps in the conversion of fats, carbohydrates, proteins into what? Into simpler form. So this is the function of the pancreas. Okay, now next, the very important organ of the human digestive system is the large intestine. Okay, as the food gets digested and the important component has been absorbed by the small intestine here, now the undigested food that has not been absorbed also now just goes into the large intestine. This is the wider part. Okay, so this is also called the large intestine. This large intestine is also called the colon. We call it also the colon. This is the ascending colon, this is the transverse colon, and this is the descending colon. And ultimately it opens into the rectum, and from the rectum, the undigested food that has not been digested and that is not very useful for the body just gets excreted from the anus part. Okay, yeah, are you getting this? Now let's study about the the large intestine. Let me write here about the large intestine. Large intestine. Okay, so the undigested food, here I am writing, basically when the food reaches in the large intestine, what is the function there? So the salt and the water which is now there in the food gets absorbed in the large intestine. Okay, the food and the salt which is now present in the food that comes from the small intestine gets absorbed in the large intestine. Okay, and when it gets absorbed, then ultimately the food that which is not having the which is having the lesser amount of water and salt would be stored in the rectum, then ultimately it will be excreted from the anus part. Okay, so here I am writing the undigested food, the undigested and unabsorbed food reaches in the large intestine, okay, here water and salts are absorbed. Here water and salts are absorbed in the large intestine. Okay, so if you could see, this large intestine is not very large, rather it is very wide. It is very wide also, and its length is only 1.5 meter. If you could see, the length of the small intestine is very much more than the large intestine, much more than the large intestine. Okay, the large intestine, its length is only 1.5 meter, but it is very wide also. Okay, it is wider and shorter, around 1.5 meter. Okay, yes, this is the now function of the large intestine. What is the function of the large intestine? It absorbs the water and the salt which is present in the food. Okay, that gets absorbed in the large intestine. Okay, it has basically again three parts. It is also called the colon. This is the ascending colon, transverse colon, and the descending colon. It is also called the colon, having three parts. Ascending colon, transverse colon, and descending colon. Okay, so this is the function of the large intestine. And after that, from the large intestine, the food now reaches into where? Into the rectum and anus. So let me write about the rectum and anus. Right here, rectum and anus. This is the rectum and anus part. Okay, so here you can write the waste food, or you can say the waste, goes into the rectum. The waste goes into the rectum and excreted from anus. It gets stored. It just keep coming from the large intestine, gets stored in the rectum. Then when the brain gives signal, then it gets excreted from the anus part. Okay, so this is the function of the rectum and anus. Are you getting this? So this process is called egestion, means throwing out of the waste from the body is called the egestion, and taking the food is called ingestion. So there are two things you have to know: ingestion and egestion. The difference is what? Ingestion means you are taking in the food, that is called egestion. Ingestion. So egestion means throwing out of the waste from the body is called the egestion. Okay. So this is there in the human digestive system. Now we would be reading about you must have heard about a common disease that is also called the diarrhea. Okay, let's study about the diarrhea. So diarrhea, it's a common disease which is caused by the infection or the food poisoning. It's basically the loose motion, means the watery stools that keeps coming from the anus part. Okay, that keeps coming from the anus part. So this is also called the diarrhea. Okay, watery stools that come frequently, you can say frequently, from anus part. Anus part is called diarrhea. You can call it diarrhea. And this is caused by what? This is caused due to infection. Okay, or it can be caused by the food poisoning. Etc. So this is the cause for diarrhea. So how do you cure this? How do you prevent yourself from the diarrhea? By taking the ORS. ORS prevents diarrhea. Okay, you are taking ORS, it prevents the diarrhea. ORS means oral rehydration solution. Let me write it. O stands for oral, R stands for rehydration. R stands for rehydration and S stands for solution. So you can prevent yourself from diarrhea by taking the ORS solution. So while you are just suffering from the diarrhea, so keep taking the solution of ORS, because this ORS contains many minerals also, it contains salt also, it contains sugar also. So if you are taking this ORS solution, so you can prevent yourself from the diarrhea. Okay, so this is all for today, and this is all for this is all about the human digestive system. Now in the next video we would be discussing about the digestive system in animals. Okay, then thank you, have a good day.